Thanks so much. Perfect. All right. Well, welcome everyone. You are at the webinar for the 2025 Oregon Supportive Housing Institute to talk about our request for applications that released last week. So hopefully you are in the right place. So we're going to do a little layout about Oregon Housing and Community Services Permanent Supportive Housing or PSH program and how that relates to the Supportive Housing Institute. And then I'm gonna pass it to my friends over at Corporation for Supportive Housing to really dive into what is the Supportive Housing Institute all about, and how to create a successful application for the RFA that we just released. So let's pass it to the next slide. Oh, sorry, Laurie. I forgot I had access. There we go. I won't bug you the whole time. Okay, so I'm Dana Schultz. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the supportive housing analyst over at Oregon Housing and Community Services. I also see my colleague Megan Von Tersch here. She is the PSH program manager over here at OHCS. And together we work the PSH or Permanent Supportive Housing Program. And so the PSH program and OHCS are the funders of the Supportive Housing Institute. And then we lean on our partners, Corporation for Supportive Housing, to implement the institute across the 5-month period and work with the participants in workshopping their PSH projects. But the Institute is a part of the PSH initiative here at OHCS. We fund the Institute. We instill programmatic requirements throughout the Institute process, and support participants in navigating our funding applications. And then we also provide the funding that you become eligible for at the end of the Institute to develop permanent supportive housing. And I'm going to go into that a little more. Switch slides. There we go. Just to do a little level setting about PSH or permanent supportive housing before we move too far. This is the type of housing that we want to see. Oh, there we go. There we go. Thanks. We want to see projects come out of the Institute. They should be projects that are prioritized to serve the most vulnerable populations experiencing chronic homelessness in your community. This housing needs to be deeply affordable to households who are living on extremely low incomes. So that's 30% AMI or below. Often folks have zero income. This housing has to be permanent. There's no time limit. So we expect that all tenants living in PSH units have a lease, just as they would in any other market rate unit or other affordable housing unit. And then what makes PSH really PSH is the provision of comprehensive tenancy support services. These services need to be available majorly on site, and they have to be voluntary, meaning they can't be strict conditions of the lease. And folks get to choose how much they engage with service providers at the site. Um, we do fund PSH projects in both the 100% or integrated models. So that means every unit at the property can be PSH, or it can just be a sprinkling or a small percentage of PSH units in a larger property that has other affordable housing units or other programmatic units. We fund both models. And also PSH needs to use what's called the housing first principles. There's lots of literature out there around housing first, but in a nutshell, it's very low barrier housing, and there can't be any requirements around sobriety or taking medication or service utilization to access the housing. It's all about providing the unit first and then the stabilization and services a second when the tenant is ready. And this housing also has to be connected to the larger homelessness services system or the continuum of care. We want to see these projects a part of that larger network and pulling from coordinated entry or community coordinated referral processes. So as I mentioned, real briefly at the beginning was part of this supportive housing institute, and I think the appeal for a lot of folks of completing the institute is the PSH funding that OHCS offers and directly connects to this institute. So here at OHCS, in our affordable rental housing division, we have three funding sources that institute participants become eligible for once they complete the institute. So our program offers PSH development capital, so that's your sticks and bricks funding to build, to actually construct the units. We offer project-based rental assistance, long-term project-based rental subsidies to make sure that the PSH units remain deeply affordable for PSH households with very low incomes. And we also offer long-term PSH services funding to flesh out that services component of your PSH program. So your case managers, peer support specialists, those wraparound services that support tenant wellness and retention. Um, and then, like I said, this Supportive Housing Institute is a part of this larger PSH program here at OHCS, and we offer technical assistance via the Supportive Housing Institute around PSH development. Oop. um, and so once the institute is completed, you still have access to Corporation for Supportive Housing and the resources they offer, and the PSH team here at OHCS to keep receiving a little technical assistance as you shape your PSH project. So those are the resources we offer, but I do want to call out a couple things. So, uh, to be eligible for those PSH resources, you as the sponsor or the developer have to have completed the institute to be eligible. And we really prioritize projects that have gone through the institute for our PSH funding. We carve out a set aside of the total PSH resources to go directly to the projects that have gone through this process. But that being said, just because if you are successful in being accepted into the Supportive Housing Institute with your team and your project, you're not guaranteed funding from OHCS. You still have to have a viable project that goes through our application and review process, meets all of our programmatic standards and all of our, viability and underwriting standards. So you're not guaranteed, but you are prioritized if you are able to make all the pieces fit and bring through a project that's sustainable and viable. So yeah, that's just the PSH funding in a nutshell, and I think I just wanted to level set around that, but we can move to the next slide. Let's see. Yeah, great. Um, and before I just pass it to Corporation for Supportive Housing to walk us through the ins and outs of the Institute and the application to join the Institute, this is just a quick overview of how this is structured. So you've got myself and my colleague Megan, who's here at OHCS, where your OHCS contacts for the Supportive Housing Institute. And then we fund CSH to deliver this Supportive Housing Institute, and these are the members of that team listed there. So we're the funder at OHCS, and CSH is the technical assistance provider, and they also do lending, which they're going to talk about. So I think at that point, I'm going to pass it to Lori to kind of walk us through the next steps.
Great. Thanks, Dana. And welcome, everyone. It's great to see you here today. Thanks for taking time to join us. I'm going to spotlight myself so you're not just looking at Dana. Here we go. Cool. So as Dana said, I'm with CSH. We're a national nonprofit focused on all things supportive housing. And in this institute, we bring guidance on how to create quality and sustainable supportive housing. We host institutes across the country, some that have gone on for almost 2 decades now. And here in Oregon, we're on our 6th institute. And Dana and my colleague Ray, who's unable to join us today, they have been part of this institute since its inception way back in 2019. I think the first one finished just as the pandemic restrictions hit. So it's been a fun ride, and I'm happy to be joining. And I wanted to just take a second for the team to introduce ourselves and our roles within the Institute. So I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Rachel Mockery.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see some familiar names out there and good to be here today. I'm Rachel Mockery, and I'm the CSH Community Investment Officer for the Pacific Northwest. So I run our lending program in Washington and Oregon. And so one of the things that CSH does, in addition to running the Institute and doing training and technical assistance, is that we are also a community development financial institution. So we have lending resources available to folks just like you all who are formulating projects. And so the types of loans that we have are really pre-development and acquisition loans. So they're loans that are intended to help your project get off the ground before you actually get funding from OHCS and other sources. And so I'd be happy to meet with you or share more resources with you and information about that. I'll be putting my email in the chat, and you can always ask for my contact information from Dana or Lori at any time. And you'll probably see me throughout the Institute at various times as well. So I'm here kind of in the background as an additional resource to everyone participating.
Thank you, Rachel. Rachel is your go-to for all the financial questions. That is not my wheelhouse, so thanks, Rachel, for joining us for that. And as I said, my name is Lori. I use she, her pronouns. And for this institute, the role I play is the host, essentially. So when we meet in person, I'll make sure you know where to be, when to be. I'll have coffee and snacks ready. And then when we meet, and that's the most important thing sometimes, when we meet virtually, I'll also be there to start and end the day with you and to introduce the session to trainers. And a few folks that are not able to be here today, but will be part of the training. We have Amber Buning. And so Amber uses she, they pronouns, and she is also a senior program manager with the training center and is based in Boulder. And as she's part of the training team on our organization. So as you can guess, she creates trainings, all the content that we are going to be working with. And their role within the Institute is both to create the content and also to manage all the folks who are coming to you to train with you. We are really lucky to be a national organization, so we can pull folks with subject matter expertise from across the country who will come in and share their knowledge with you. She also is a great resource for templates and policies, things like that to help your project move forward. So if you're like, oh, is there like a template for writing an MOU? Amber's going to have it. And so I will put her email in the chat towards the end today, and she will be in the background running the rest of our virtual trainings in the future. And then also Ray Trotta, who I mentioned is my colleague, also unable to be here today. Ray uses they, them pronouns. Ray has historically been the manager for this project and is guiding me this year as I step up into that role. They'll be in the background providing their wisdom, their expertise, and they'll probably join us for a training day or two. So that is kind of our role as CSH: training, technical assistance, and potentially lending if it's a good fit. So thank you for listening. That's the rundown of who's who. Now, a few logistics on the screen, and I will put these links into the chat shortly as well. The RFA and the application are live on the website. Actually, I'll take a second and put both my email and that in the chat right now. There you go. First one is the link. Second one is my email. It all kind of came out as one. So the RFA and the application are both there. You'll submit complete applications to me at my email address on the screen, and then I will respond to you within 24 hours on a work day. And if I don't, I really encourage you, if you don't hear back from me, to check in with me, as we don't want anyone's application to be missed. We want to make sure we got everything. And you've got, let's see, the due date is March 7th at midnight. So you have just under a month to respond. We put it at midnight. I think we ask this each year, like, should we make it during, working hours, standard working hours, or midnight? And we decided we just want to honor that everyone keeps a different schedule. Maybe 10 a.m. is your productive time. Maybe that's your only free time that you have a second to work on it. So midnight on March 7th. And because the applications do really take a lot of time to go through, we are pretty firm on that deadline. And then the cohort selection will happen in early April. We'll get together, review all the applications, and invite 8 teams this year to join the 6th cohort. And then we kick things off in May with an in-person session. And I think we're starting in Portland this year. Now, as you have questions, we have time for questions at the end. You can pop them in the chat. You can wait till the end, whichever works best for you. And next, I'll bring us to the training schedule. So this is the training schedule. These are the topics that we have planned. And you'll see it's intensive. It's definitely a commitment, but it's also a fun one as well. It's really great to be in person, to meet with your team, to meet with other teams and make those connections, build that community. And I think one of the great things is you get to see what's going on with supportive housing at large, and then how each of your independent but interlinked roles interact to create and operate quality supportive housing. And so we as CSH will bring the national best practices and subject matter experts, and then each of your teams brings unique knowledge and skills to share with everyone as well. And I think there's often what we see is awesome peer learning that happens during this time together. One of the conversations I heard last year that, like, something I hadn't even thought of, like, what's your trash plan? Who do you guys go with? Are they meeting your needs? Like, that was, just those little details that maybe you don't have time to chat with other folks about if you're not in a space like this. And there are also, you'll see 3 sessions, so 6 days that are in person. I think we're aiming for 2 in Salem and 1 in Portland. Could be subject to change if we move it around a little bit. And the plan for each day is if we're in person, 9 to 3, if we're virtual, 9 to 4, maybe that's opposite. I think in person, 9 to 4, virtual 9 to 3, because it's a long time to sit. And so the general plan is we'll have some training in the morning, including a presentation, peer knowledge sharing, breakout groups, and project work. And then we'll have an hour lunch break and an hour to work on your teams on the deliverable, or what we call a supportive practice that's associated with that session. So that could be working on your mission, vision, and values, looking at your capital budgets, a range of different things that we'll have time to work on. And then during virtual meetings, Amber and I will be available during your team time, so you can come out of your breakout groups to ask us questions. Either we'll field the questions or we'll reach out to our colleagues with those specific area of expertise and follow up with you. And then during the in-person meetings, myself and the folks who are presenting will be there to answer questions. And then at the end of the day, we like to come back together, share what you've been working on, share any learnings or questions, and wrap up the session. One thing that we really want to reiterate is that participation in the Institute is required by all of your team members for every session. And the purpose of this is not to be punitive or anything like that. It's really to ensure that there's enough opportunity for that cross-learning. This is the piece that really supports your team development, which then builds up successful project implementation. And also your team members come away with a better understanding of each other's roles. It's a really cool opportunity to learn, like, here's my role, here's where I fit in. What does development do? What does the PM do, property manager? And I think that that's something that's unique, that cross-learning that, that happens, and the community you build both within your team and with the other teams. And so for that reason, there are no hybrid options. We do not record the in-person options or the in-person sessions. And then you'll note at the very bottom, our last session is what we call a project reveal. And so this is when teams present their projects to funders jurisdictional partners, and other community leaders and interested folks. I think that sometimes this can be anxiety inducing for folks knowing that you have to make a presentation. It's 3 to 5 minutes of chatting, and it's one slide that we ask you to make. So it can really be a fun opportunity to tell your team's story. And I think that's really what it is. You've put in all of this work on this project. You want to let people know what you're working on. And we will do a dry run. We'll practice. We'll give you feedback on bringing your best self to that presentation. And it's really a fun thing. And we'll talk about it more in a minute as well. I also want to mention for accessibility, OHCS can reimburse travel costs for driving, your mileage. And then for those who are traveling more than 50 miles, hotel. Does that sound accurate, Dana? Okay. All right. No questions in the chat so far. If you do, please have questions, put them in the chat or wait until the Q&A, whatever works best for you. And then let's move on to the RFA and the application. And I'm going to put the link direct to the RFA in the chat just to make sure everyone sees it. So if you go to the link in the chat, that first one, there's 2 buttons, one for the RFA, one for the application. And on the screen is really a high-level overview of the RFA, or request for applications. It starts you out with an introduction of the Institute. It tells you about CSH and OHCS's approach to supportive housing, the benefits of the Institute, and what are the components that we're looking for in a strong application or a strong team for the Institute. The focus population for this Institute is folks experiencing chronic homelessness, as Dana has already mentioned. And so in your application, you really want to make clear that connection between your project and how it intends to serve these populations of folks experiencing chronic homelessness. And then onto page 4, you'll see that teams consist of 5 to 6 members. And there's an asterisk next to number 6. We want to really ensure and welcome lived experience to the table. We want to make sure that that voice is integrated into your project design from the very beginning stages, the planning stages, until it's operating, right, and beyond. So we strongly encourage and welcome that professional lived experience and make space for an extra team member who fits in that role. And so this could look like a peer specialist or a community partner or anyone on your team who self-identifies as having lived experience. And it doesn't have to be of houselessness. There can be other types of lived experience as well. It's all valuable when we're building supportive housing. When we get to pages 5 and 6, it covers OCH's reservation of development capital and their funding priorities and how your work ties into the funding options there. We talk about selection criteria for choosing Institute teams and also scoring. And what I will say is that there's no really secret recipe to what we're looking for. There's not certain keywords or anything like that that we're looking for. We really want to see a well thought out plan with dedicated partnerships and really that commitment to serving folks experiencing chronic homelessness. There's also a detailed breakdown of the scoring on page 6. So be sure to answer every question thoughtfully and thoroughly. And no, we do give preference to those who are serving folks who are overrepresented in homelessness and other systems across the state. So Black and Brown and Indigenous communities, LGBTQIA2S+ communities. And this year, we're also giving preference to projects that are going to be located in rural and tribal areas. And the definition of that, if you're not quite sure, can be found on page 9. There is a link. I think it's the addendum where it's located. So if you're not sure if you qualify as rural, you can go ahead and check that on the maps there. And onto the Institute or application. So the application asks for the team membership. So it's really important to name who will be on your team. We want to see that there's a plan and that there are confirmed partners that are willing to commit to the Institute. And then there's some questions about your project concept, design, and focus populations. And we're looking to see connections. What is the need in your community specifically? And how does your project serve that need? And how do your partnerships demonstrate knowledge of those communities that you intend to serve? And then there's a place for the application narrative, and there are about 9 questions that are each scored. And they cover project concept, project readiness, and accessibility. And the need for project and equity for your specific project and equity in your specific geographic area. A note on the experience and capacity piece, you don't have to have specific PSH experience. What we want you to have experience in is the role that you're bringing to the table within your project. And for you to have a willingness to work within the Housing First framework, which is also defined in the RFA, I think is where it's defined. And just the willingness to be here, that's good enough. There's a section for participation needs, and this isn't scored. This just asks you what you might need to participate fully in the Institute. And we want to be sure that you have what you need to succeed here. And something to emphasize here is that when we're talking about having what you need, virtual sessions really do require you to be stationary and on a laptop with a camera. Driving in your car with a phone, that doesn't really allow you to fully engage with the content that we're presenting or with your team. So we want to make sure that you have everything that you need to participate if you're joining. And then lastly, the scoring criteria. I'll refer you back to the RFA and note the additional points we discussed for BIPOC and LGBTQIA2S+ communities, as well as for projects that are going to be serving rural and tribal populations. Anything to add there, Dana?
No, I think you covered it all. You're doing great.
Okay, that was a lot. And so we've got some great resources up here. Dana, I don't know if you want to talk about the OHCS links up here. Oops, that are really great.
Sure, yeah. And maybe it's good to drop some of them in the chat if you can.
Yep,
But
I will put them
the
in.
OHCS links here, we've got the first one, which is to the OHCS website is known for its lack of ease in using it and finding what you're looking for. So this is the direct link to the PSH program page. It's where we put the recordings of these things. We put old funding opportunities, we put new announcements, and then we put our frameworks and manuals for the whole program if you want to understand all the nitty-gritty pieces around the PSH initiative and the funding opportunities we have at OHCS around PSH. And then the second link is our Tableau, which is our affordable rental housing dashboard. And it lets you kind of poke around in a fun interactive map so you can see other PSH projects around the state, see if there's any popping up in your community already. And there's even an indicator if they've completed the Supportive Housing Institute previously. And so you can reach out to them, you can reach out to us for contact information if you want to get connected to those projects.
It's a really fun website to go. I was clicking around on it last night, and it's really cool to see. I think we mentioned this before, but just to see the amount of projects that are popping up that have gone through the Institute. Now that we're, I think, 5, this will be our 6th cohort. So we're 5 finished cohorts in. It's really cool to see some of those that have come through the Institute now popping up as established housing. And hopefully one of our goals when we're in our in-person sessions is that we visit some of those sites. So you can get a tour, you can ask questions. That's always really fun. Moving on with the links. If you are nervous about that project reveal, we have it recorded. OHCS has it popped up on YouTube, and I'm going to put this in the chat. You can watch last year's to see how cool and fun it is. And it can be lighthearted. Last year someone did their presentation in the form of like a movie preview. One of the people had a really deep voice, and it was really fun and creative to watch. We've had another team who actually played music and sang a song about their project. So it's really a fun opportunity to get creative. It's also, as I said, an opportunity to tell your story and show off all this hard work that you've been doing and name what you're up to, and kind of celebrate each other, right? This is an opportunity to see what all of your colleagues who are also in the Institute have been up to and to cheer each other on. It's fun. But yes, it is a public event. There are funders. And so if there are questions about like what you want to present and maybe what you don't want to fully share yet, we can talk you through that. The next link is to the training center. And so there are a lot of on-demand trainings there. This is not to promote us. It's more so that you get a chance to see what trainings might look like, what style and approach that we take. And there's also a connection between the Institute and while you're in the Institute, and I think after, you do have access to the trainings on the training center. And then lastly is the CSH Lending and Community Investment page. So if you're curious about what CSH offers, it's easy to navigate and explore your financing options. And then if you have a question after you look at that page, Rachel is happy to chat with you to follow up and explain anything or answer any questions that you have. Anything else to add, Dana or Megan? So with that, we open it up to all of you who are here. What questions do you have? Or comments?
Hello, I have a question. My name is Gwendolyn Worthy. I'm the National Commander for the National Association for Black Veterans, and I'm working with Americana Foundation. When it comes to building or so, what about the purchase or lease of property or land?
Yeah, great question. So are you asking if the funding for the development capital funding coming out of OHCS is it eligible to use for acquisition? Is that, yeah. Yes,
Yes.
it is eligible. You can totally use that funding to purchase a site and develop the site or just purchase it if it's like a building that's ready to use and that's what you want to use it for. In terms of leasing, we don't fund any kind of like master leasing approaches, but we do provide that rental assistance subsidy if that's needed, to make the units affordable, that you're going to be operating. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Of course.
So I had a question about if we have a number of projects in the pipeline. We already own property and already have things are already kind of working in the background. Nothing's being built, but we have ideas and plans for the building. And at least some of the programming figured out. We have been through the Institute before. We were there for the Great Pandemic Institute, which was the beginning of the pandemic. So, but we have to go through it again. I guess my concern is when I hear we're doing 8 teams across the state, and we have a number of projects backed up that would really benefit from this. It's concerning to me that we may be in a position where we have projects, but can't actually get through, can't get accepted into the project because it's a pinch point.
Sure. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's a valid concern. I think kind of to that point is kind of look at the preferences that we've got in place around rural, serving historically underserved communities and just kind of, see if your projects you meet those requirements. And I think that's like a good indicator of your opportunity to secure a spot. Also, like, we are saying 8 teams if we have, if we get a slew of projects that like we just can't say no to any of them, we might be able to like bring in another one or two. It just depends on the capacity of the space that we're going to be using and the capacity of our partners. But yeah, I would definitely, I think that's kind of like the nature of the competitive process in general. It's not the most comforting thing, but I would encourage you to, yeah, definitely put an application in. And then, we can talk about next steps, whatever the outcome is, if it doesn't serve your plan for your projects in the pipeline.
I don't know if you know this, but for the last institute, how many teams applied and how many were accepted?
I don't know if Lori knows for sure. My memory doesn't serve me too well on that, but I want to say we ended up turning away 4 teams. So it's not like a huge amount are being turned away, but every year is different. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2 that aren't making it. I think the first year there were like 12 who didn't make it. So it just depends on the number of applications we received. But I think the last few years it hasn't been more than 4 teams that we've turned away. Lori, is that your memory? Okay.
That's my memory as well. Yeah, and I will say there are folks who come through the Institute who we know, and we're like, hey, welcome back to the Institute again. So because you have been through before, other teams may be preference, but that does not mean that you won't get in,
Well,
So
I guess my concern about that statement is I've been told we can't do our projects unless we go through the Institute and get PSH support. So it's one thing to say, yeah, we have benefited from going through the PSH, but we no longer have access to the resources available. So when you say that if we're being discounted for our being through it before, then that seems kind of counteracting this idea that we need to go through it a second time in order to access the resources. So
Sure, I see what you're saying. Like, and that's not an absolute thing. It's just describe in your application the need, and like that's something we're going to take into consideration. Our goal is to not block you from this because you've gone 4 years. Like 4 years ago is a long time. And so if you had gone last year, yeah, we might weigh that as like, oh well, let someone else have a turn.
sure.
But it's your turn to come again, and we will definitely take that into consideration.
Well, the reason I say that, the reason we're applying is because we've been told we have to do that to get to the resources. So if
Sure,
that weren't the case, we wouldn't go through it a second time. We would let somebody else go through. So
I see. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. So I think, around that eligibility issue, like I would say if you're meeting that marker where your eligibility, like your previous institute participation is now kind of like lapsing, that eligibility window is gone, that repeat, like if you've repeated it, you won't be preferenced. That doesn't really apply to you. Because like you're right. It's like those two are conflicting. So you can disregard that piece.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
we have a question in the chat. What is the anticipated budget for PSH funds for use in development / construction? Is the budget divided by region?
Yeah, that's a good question. It all depends kind of when you're coming in. So funding goes through our Affordable Rental Housing Division centralized application process called the ORCA, and it's a rolling funding situation. So right now we still have PSH funding available from this biennium, and it will remain in there until it's awarded. And then we have the long legislative session starting right now where we're seeking a total re-up of all of that money. I think around $80 million in development capital for PSH. It's too soon for me to say that if we're going to get that, but that if we do get it, it goes into the bucket. And we do have regional preferences for the funding, but if you're coming out of the institute, that project would get access to the set aside of funds, and those aren't parsed out by region. We just want to make sure projects that go through the institute have a preference to some of that funding. If that makes sense.
I have a question. My name's Josephine. I just want to get it clarified that this is for current PSH programs and new development PSH programs. Am I understanding that correctly?
It would be for new PSH developments. Or if it's like a current property, you would be converting it to PSH. It would be new PSH units that required some rehabilitation or construction to get to that place. But this is about creating new PSH units. And it is a development workshop, so you really want to be coming in with a concept, not a project already in operation.
Okay, because I think we were under the understanding that because there's a lot of resources in all of this that we would really benefit from.
Mhm.
And we are currently a PSH program that is current and a property. And would we still be able to access maybe the cohort and or the resources if we submit interest?
It's a little hard to answer that. So if you are wanting to create something new
Mhm.
outside of your current program that you are operating, then yes. And so once you go through the institute, you are eligible to keep asking for PSH funding for different projects. What Jerry was talking to, we have a 4-year kind of end marker and eligibility of that. But within that 4-year period, you can tap into the PS or request PSH funding for other PSH projects.
Got it.
So you could kind of apply it to your current operating one, but that's not what you would bring through the institute.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Josephine, feel free to email us if you want to talk more about that.
Great, I appreciate that. I will.
Devin
See a hand.
Jenkins has his hand up. Go ahead, Devin. If you are talking, it looks like you're not on mute, but we can't hear you. I would suggest maybe typing your question in the chat since we're unable to hear you, Devin. And while we're waiting for that, does anyone else have a question? Ah, here we go. Thanks, Devin. Can the service provider, developer, and property manager be the same entity?
Yes, that's totally fine. You can all be from the same organization. You just have to make sure you're sending a different individual that serves in the separate roles. So you can't have one person representing both property manager and service provider. You would need 2 separate individuals representing those 2 different roles.
That's a good question. We had that come up last year, actually.
Yeah, comes up often.
Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question. I'm with Saban CDC. We're an affordable housing provider in Portland. And we have a project currently in pre-development that we're hoping to reach financial closing in end of 2025. Does that feel like we're sort of too far, like this is for projects earlier in the development process, or with that timeline, would we still be able to like go through the institute this summer and then potentially secure funds at the end of 2025?
They're just behind.
So you said you're in the pre-development stage, you haven't applied for development dollars?
Yeah, we're currently in the, like, we've submitted the intake form to OHCS, but haven't been moved to impact assessment.
Yeah,
Go ahead and
yeah, that's a
share
great
your
question.
screen.
I think you're in a good place to do that. I think where it becomes a little sticky is if you're already been funded. If you go through our development process and not really disclosing that you're PSH and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of pivot PSH after you've been funded, that's when there's a rub,
Yeah.
an issue. So I think at this stage it makes total sense to kind of, you know, talk about your PSH plans and go through the institute with the project.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
They might wanna just see if.
And I see, do all units in development need to pull from the COC? So there are integrated projects that have ones that aren't permanent supportive housing, but for those units that are permanent supportive housing, they need to pull from the COC. Is that correct, Dana?
Yeah, so that's yes. If you are using if you're planning on requesting the PSH program funding from OHCS, yeah, we do require that you utilize coordinated entry or the COC's referral process to fill PSH units. If you use a different funding, they might have a different requirement, a little more flexibility, and that's totally allowed. You're not beholden to our funding. You can quilt different funding sources to make it work for you. Um, we offer a little flexibility around the COC referral or the coordinated entry referral. If like you've identified a racial disparity in access to PSH units and you want to propose a different referral process, or if you're in a really rural area and coordinated entry is just really not a thing, we can talk about that and create some flexibility around that requirement. And I see Lynn's question. Did we answer that one?
No, I skipped over it. Sorry, Lynn. Will your team be sending our agencies the RFA application after this, or do we just use the one on the website? So you'll just download the application from the website and the RFA.
My audio was working. Is it working now?
We can kind of hear you. Yeah, you're pretty quiet, but we can hear you.
Let me see if I can turn it up a little bit. Is that any better?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I just have follow-ups and
Sure.
didn't want to type it all. Can there be a program plan that prioritizes certain populations within the COC, or do we just have to take the top of the list?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it all depends on how your COC works. I don't know what area you're in, Devin, but yeah, COCs definitely allow you, or the ones that we've worked with have allow you to place, you know, the priority populations that you want to serve within the chronically homeless requirement. And as you'll see in the application, we want you to kind of call out, are you, you know, drilling down to a subpopulation that you want to serve and who is that? And we totally welcome that. And a lot of projects are operating with that model.
Great, thanks. I'm in Eugene, by the way, Lane County, and
Oh, yeah.
we're a
Yep.
we're a service provider, we're a property manager, we're a developer. We do all the things.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
just yeah, a lot of questions related to that to make sure
Yep.
we're
Yep.
on the right track.
Yep. Definitely.
Thanks.
You're on mute, Lori, if you were chatting.
Oh, cool. What I was going to say for Devin, since you're in Eugene, we have really cool projects that have come through the Institute that are in Eugene. And so if you look on that dashboard that we posted earlier, and I'm happy to repost, if you wanted to reach out to any of those that are in operation now, that's also a great opportunity to see, you know, what it looks like and their experience in the Institute as well. And I will repost that link since I just mentioned it. Yeah.
We're actually the service provider at the Nell. So
Ah,
I am familiar.
cool.
Yes,
Great.
we've got a lot of great projects in the
Yeah.
area.
Yep. What other questions do you have? All right.
Yeah, if other questions come up, you're allowed to reach out to Lori and I. Yeah, so that sounds good.
Tina, do you want to put your email in the chat one more
Sure
time?
thing.
I'll put mine in the chat as well.
Oh, I see a question from Stephen that do we anticipate a change in federal funds? Yeah, that's hard to say, but all of the PSH funding is through state dollars that aren't direct lines to federal funds, so we don't expect any changes around our PSH funding and funding for the institute at this moment.
Yeah. All right, so you have our emails in the chat. If any other questions come up, and we look forward to seeing your applications for those of you who decide to apply. It's a really fun project and program. So thanks for joining us today. All right.
All
Take
right.
care, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks again for everything, guys.
Mhm.
Talk to you in a little bit, Gwen.